President, in 2020, when you were talking about unrest in American cities, you said, quote, "We have to go by the laws. We can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor." What changed now? Why is this situation different to not consult with Governor Newsom about this?
Well, the biggest change from that statement is we have an incompetent governor. So I talked about governors, but I didn't talk about he's an incompetent governor. Look at the job he's doing in California. He's destroying one of our great states.
That's what we call shots fired. Yeah, that's the battle of American titans. Have you realized that anyone, especially on the Democratic side, that has come at Donald Trump, they have not fared well? You can look at Hillary Clinton, you can look at Joe Biden, you can look at Kamala Harris, Tim Walz. You can also add Elon Musk to that. The ending does not go well. And I say Elon Musk because after his spat with President Trump, $150 billion was erased from Tesla. This is not a good place for Gavin Newsom. This is not a good place. Remember these words from Donald Trump when he said about woke?
Democratic Congresswoman.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control.
Did you address
those days are over. The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
Well, that's what this is all about. It's about wokeness. And what I mean by that is that when you look at everything that Trump has been attacking from day one in the office, his executive plans, the majority of it has been woke related. And when you're dealing with woke relationships, look at California. California is the capital of woke when it comes to the United States. Now, when you deal with California and wokeness, and now when you add the migrants into that, the reason the migrants is a problem is because of the money. When you deal with the money is that for the illegals that came to town, they received allegedly $13,000 in food stamps, roughly $5,000 in cash, housing vouchers, apartments. The red carpet was laid out. Where did those funds come from? Those funds came from the way we've been doing business, U.S. aid, free money, in that season as we come to an understanding with the government shutdown, which is long overdue. Maxine Waters, I remember her saying how the kicking of the can at some point is going to have to stop. And even though those were her words, we're at a time of where the kicking of the can has to stop, but is not favorable to how they thought it should be. And you've had opportunities to have stopped it under Biden, under Obama, but now that is with Trump, is not to the standards of what we expected. And so if you were depending on that system, if you was depending on that money, if you was depending on the grants, if you was depending on the welfare, the Section 8, that's where the challenge is. We all have to go through this if we were depending on the funding of the government. The gravy train has stopped. So the gravy train cannot go any further with the migrants. Now, the migrants can work, but notice this now. We're in a season where working, the wages are going up. The oppression in America, that season is no longer. This is the pulling up by the bootstrap economy, and you have to get out there and get it. That's what Trump has prepared. This is a masculine economy. This is a workforce economy. And if you have the creativity to understand how to develop in this environment, you will do well. That's where we have a challenge at. So we got a shaking up that's going on. California, when it comes to their finances, 1/3 of their workforce is migrants, illegal migrants. 1/3. So that's a problem right there for Gavin Newsom. He has it coming to him from his base that provide the funds that hire these migrants. That's an issue. So I see why he's fighting. But notice how Gavin Newsom says here in his feelings about Trump.
The National Guard is unnecessary, and frankly, it's a provocation and inflammation of tensions and an escalation that it seems the president wants. This is a manufactured crisis. It is an artificial controversy. He wants the chaos. He wants the confusion. Unfortunately, he might even want to be inciting violence.
That was California's Attorney General representing Governor Newsom. But notice what Governor Newsom said that he's going to do. He's filing a lawsuit. Now, when it comes to lawsuits, that hasn't worked very well at all for the Democrats in trying to hold on to the woke. That hasn't gone well for them. But also notice what the Attorney General said about President Trump. This is a war, and this war is right in the hands of how President Trump is wired. He's wired for this chaos. He's wired for the confusion. That confusion and chaos that the Attorney General is representing. This is Trump. He's gone through this. He's battle-toughed it. He showed you his situation when he had to go through the time of his courts under Letitia James. Look at how that worked out for the state of New York and Letitia. Then he had to go to Atlanta for Fannie Williams. Look at how that worked out. And when he was asked about the hypocriticalness of President Trump being in this situation concerning the law, he says, look, I've gone through it, and if there was any accuracy to that, I wouldn't be standing here before you. He's ready for this. And not only is he ready for it, notice how the polls are supporting Trump. And when we talk about the polls, think of this. There's a number of Californians, 40%, that voted for Trump. That's high for California. And that 40% that voted for him, the polls is showing. I tell you what, before I go any further, let me show you these polls. Check it out.
The American electorate believed that the Democrats don't have a clue on the issue of immigration. I mean, you could just take it here. Closer to trust more in immigration, Democrats versus Republicans. Got 3 different polls for you across the board. They all tell the same story. Republicans lead on the issue of immigration. You see it here, CBS +6. You see it here, CNN +6. You see it here, Ipsos, even bigger, +19. No matter what poll you look at, no matter which way you cut it, the American public is with the Republicans. The American public is with Donald Trump.
You saw those polls. And look, those polls more than likely are not accurate. What I mean by that is Trump always polls lower than what the expected outcome. CNN had it at 6%, but notice that other poll was at 19%. But at 19%, they're probably underpolling him. What Trump has going for him in this season is the American people are supporting him. And the biggest thing is the woke areas. That is the worst thing that the Democrats could have done to get them in a position that they're in. So it's almost like whatever you throw against the wall here is going to stick on behalf of Trump. This is a very challenging area if you're a Democrat. This is a very challenging situation to try to get victory. It's very challenging because you're getting Democrats that are defecting because they recognize what's happening with the border. You have people who are Latino that are still supporting Trump. Now, the number may have lowered because of the people that they know. I mean, it kind of gives you a situation whereas, let's just say it was your family and you did everything right, but there's this one family member that told you they came in right, but they didn't. Now mama and them got a problem and they hurting because of that decision. That's kind of what we have here when it comes to many people in the Latino community. They didn't see it coming this close to home. Because look, if you didn't come right, you probably are gonna be embarrassed and you're gonna hide your situation from the rest of your family. That's how we're at this big mess. But what is caught up is the financial. all the money that was being spent on the Latino community, the same money, speaking of the illegal migrants, that same money that is going after the education system, that's a problem too, because the money's drying up there as well. In other words, we're talking about a lot of waste. The waste is being taken care of. So when it comes to this, how is Gavin Newsom gonna fight through this? How was Biden gonna fight through it? We knew there was a challenge there. He's still trying to figure out how to say what he has to say, and it's not coming off well. But Gavin is not coming off well. But Gavin has a challenge right here. He wants to be the presidential candidate in 2028. That's going to be a problem for him. California is not supporting him. Here we have Kamala Harris saying that she's ready to run. What on earth is going on in California? Look at Hollywood, the fires, the water was not available. There's so much chaos that is going on there, and that chaos was meant to be brought to the rest of America. That was going to be Kamala's assignment. If you look at what they're going through now, and you look at the chaos that's going on, that chaos was going to be spreaded here. In other words, we was going to have a strong drink to deal with, whether it was Democrats or Republicans in this hour. Right now, the economy is showing to be doing very well, but imagine this now, no economy for all of us, including the migrants. Chaos. Because at least we've learned that with the tariffs, money is coming in. Money is flowing. Yes, China's fighting. Yes, there's negotiations. Yeah, Trump has seen what you said about Taco, but anybody that's in business knows that that's just the way it goes. Politics may be a little bit different. If you're a Democrat, it may be a little bit different. But when it comes to business, when it comes to street language, when it comes to handling your business, there's gonna be, just as in any relationship, give and take. That's what we're dealing with right now. Even in the give and take, you can see that Canada is beginning to perform differently. You can see that Mexico is performing a little bit differently. The European nations performing differently. The only one that's holding out is China, and do you expect anything otherwise? There are certain things with China, whereas you can steal properties from America, create the patent, use the patent, and not be penalized for it, and sell that product as a competitor on Amazon. And there's no laws in America that will cause you to go to jail or to pay a fine. But on the flip side, those same companies, if you was to do the same against them, they'll bring it to America and they will win the court case. That's what is going on. There is so much going on all around us.